we go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you. That game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute blazer from Coach, wasn't it?
What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion.
I'm just gonna be weird. It's April 1st, April Fool's Day. I'm not gonna do some corny ass joke of, oh, we're doing this. I'm just gonna be just a little freaky and weird to start the show. All right, I'm back to normal. We can see me. You guys can see me? I knew you could see me, of course. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. Yes, we are good. What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. Happy April 1st, 2026. Every year it's like, all right, I'm gonna do something funny, and it's just like, no, we're good. Let's get right into it. How's everybody doing? I know for me, watching that Lightning game last night, and we'll break it down here momentarily. It was just a matter of time before that kind of crap was coming. We'll discuss what went on at Benchmark International Arena last night. Our guy Steve Garner, our Carolina correspondent, has actually done the homework when it comes to magic numbers and playoffs. Like, he did an incredible job. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. A big thank you to our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, and Evra Health. I always want to hear from you guys. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com, usually joins us at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays, but he'll join us actually at 1:30 today, because the Lightning have practice at 11:30 at Benchmark International Arena. So I haven't seen any of the notes. Honestly, I haven't looked. But this team really needs some rest, but they also need to practice. It's weird because I even asked John Cooper this in the post game yesterday, and he's saying that, like, well, we need practice. And I'm like, well, is the most important thing down the stretch kind of balancing out practice and rest? And he's like, yeah, well, the most important thing is rest. And I'm like, was it rest or practice? Then he's saying, oh, well, if we don't know our if we don't know our structure by now, we're in trouble. And I'm like, all right, well, then why is practice so important? Shouldn't it be more rest? I don't know. We'll get into that here momentarily. We'll discuss the Rays losing last night. Shane McClanahan, his first appearance, the two sides of Shane McClanahan, because I think that's something to really not just what he did, but what he said after the game last night. And he was very emotional, very pissed off after that game last night. First start in 2 years or so. We'll talk Lightning. We'll discuss Tiger Woods stepping away finally. Thank God. It's getting to be too much. U.S. men's national team, a little soccer talk at 12:50. Are they in trouble ahead of the World Cup? Maybe, maybe not. And then at 1 o'clock, Alex Golesh made some comments with our guy Josh Pate. And there's been a lot of people, and I know some people brought this up yesterday. Do they think that Alex Golesh was completely focused on USF? And do you think that has anything to do with why they faltered down the stretch? I'm going to give you my 2 cents on his comments there and whether I think it had an impact or not. And then also we're seeing the Yankees okay with the Rays in Tampa. I thought that was an April Fool's joke when I saw that last night. And then we'll end the program. Erik Erlendsson, again, lightninginsider.com. Tomorrow on the program, Christy Curry is going to join us. New USF women's basketball coach. She joins us at 1 o'clock. We have Dr. Carlos Rodriguez at 12:30 with the EverHealth injury report, and then, of course, Everyday Eddie Encino, 1:30, talking all things Lightning. I will be live from Benchmark International Arena tomorrow. Lightning and Penguins. Benny, I got to come clean, Jay. Go Penguins, baby. Let's go, Sydney. Come on. What's wrong with this guy? Shout out to our guy, Honest Hammer, SRQ Tom. Ren, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Steve Garner, our Carolina correspondent. More on him in a bit. Tampa Nike Fitness thought the Bulls didn't play that bad. Dovis had been stealing games lately for the Habs. I don't really think he stole the game. I thought he played good. I didn't think he stole the game because I really didn't think the Lightning put any sustained pressure on him. Jay, can you explain the concept of pulling Vazzy in a 5-on-4 situation with 3.5 minutes left? Why taking that risk? And this is something that John Cooper does that maybe is against the grain. And somebody put this to me last night on Twitter, and I can't say I disagree. It just seems like every time that they pull the goalie, they get scored on. I don't know if it's like that for everybody because I don't watch everybody as closely as I do the Tampa Bay Lightning, but I don't know. I think out of all the things to adjust, that might be one of them for Coop. It's worked in the past when it comes to like in the playoffs. I remember years ago he was able to do it and it worked out, but it just seems like when he pulls the goalie, before you know it, the puck winds up in the back of the net. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't get it. All right, looking at some of the stuff last night. We'll get back to the Lightning in a second. But the Rays lose 6-2 to the Milwaukee Brewers. And, you know, when you look at what happened with Shane McClanahan, right? The first couple of innings, he looked good, and then he really just had trouble finding it. And this is going to happen for a guy that hasn't pitched in a while. And you can't anticipate him being the sharpest. You can't anticipate him being the cleanest. Like, it's going to be a process for him coming back. And I know I saw my buddy Tom Krasnicki put something on Twitter yesterday discussing like, oh, if Shane McClanahan's going to be back to Shane McClanahan, the Rays will have a good like. He's not going to take the ball for 200 innings. Like, we have to understand, like, what you're going to get from Shane McClanahan is you're going to get little bits and pieces of him. He's not going to come back and be an ace. I mean, look no further than last night. He threw 79 pitches. And the problem with this whole Shane McClanahan thing is that he wants the ball. You heard him in the postgame last night. I want to go 8 innings. I want to go 9 innings. Yeah, I get that. You're an ace. You want to help this team. But with that being said, he's not ready for that. And he's not going to be ready for that all year long. And if that adjusts your expectations when it comes to the Rays, then do so accordingly. But from what I saw from Shane McClanahan last night, we saw the good and we saw the bad. When Shane is on, he locates his 4 pitches and he's dominant. He is dominant. And I love the way he dominates the inside half of the zone, because it takes some real balls to be able to get that fastball and to be able to go, all right, I'm trying to get you in on the inner half there, and then to throw breaking balls there, and he just absolutely locks guys up. But when he's not throwing strikes and he can't locate certain pitches and his emotions get the best of him, that's what you saw last night. He was chomping at the bit to get back out there, and we can understand that. We know the type of competitor that he is. But when you see Shane McClanahan, when you see like the Max Scherzers of the world, like, being a pitcher is so completely different than really any other sport and any other position in any other sport. Like, you're pitching once every 5 games, and it's all on you. Sometimes you have to rely on others. Sometimes you have to deal with some bad calls from the umpire. Maybe not as much anymore with the new ABS system, but it's a very unique position that you're in, because whether you do well or whether you do poorly, now you have to stew on it for almost a damn near week before you get back out there and toe the slab again. But I'm watching Shane McClanahan, and I like what I saw. I'm listening to Shane McClanahan after the game, and I got to be honest with you, I feel like it was very similar to his performance on the field. On the field, there was some great stuff, and then not so great. And then in the post game, it was about 4 minutes, and I think Ryan Bass from the TV broadcast posted this on the social media. And Ryan Bass, asked a couple questions, and Shane looked pissed. He was upset. He was not happy. He didn't feel like he put his team in a position to win. And I think we get to the point as a professional athlete sometimes where we just want to see our guys like leave it all out there, right? If we're spending all of our time and our energy and our focus on like supporting these guys and covering these guys and rooting for these guys, like you don't want to question their effort, right? Doesn't that drive you nuts when you're like, does that guy really even give a crap? That's probably one of the worst. You're getting paid millions of dollars to play this game and you don't care. That's probably one of the things that irks me, I know, as a sports fan, above all else. And you saw that from Shane. Like it bothered him. And I can, I can appreciate that. But the other thing that he said was that really not bothered me, maybe it's too strong of a word, but one thing that kind of like caught my attention was God put me on this earth to do this. And it's like, really? God put you on the earth to throw a baseball. That's your profession. That's your career, right? But I don't know if that's that. And I get it. I get what you're saying, but is it? Does it kind of just rang things true and put things in perspective? Like, is it? That's the reason why you're put on this earth to throw a baseball? I don't think so, buddy. I don't think so. And I know myself when I started really doing better in my job as a professional talking about sports is when I found work-life balance. It's when I knew when to take a step away and I knew when to kind of compartmentalize my emotions so that I put my best efforts into my job, but I didn't take it home with me. And you wonder about things like that of maybe that's something that will impede Shane from really getting back to, being at the top of his craft. Because when Shane McClanahan was pitching at his best, he wasn't pitching like a Max Scherzer. He wasn't pitching angry. He was having fun out there. And I get it. It's tough to analyze that after a guy toes the rubber for the first time in 2 years. I understand, but I don't know why I was so happy that he was angry. Not happy that he was angry, but I just happy that he cared. Like it meant something. Like I loved that he took it like that. But I thought he just went maybe a little bit too far when he was like, this is the reason why God put me on this earth. Because I think if you find something else as that motivation, I think you can keep the main thing. I remember having this discussion years ago with Steven Souza. You guys remember Steven Souza Jr. from the Rays? And I remember him, and I asked him if life was different. And I'm going to ask this to Darren Radish tomorrow when I see him. Darren Radish and Nick Pohl, those are the two guys I got to talk to before the game tomorrow. I got to ask Nick Pohl why he wears the helmet sometimes before the games and not other times. And I want to ask Darren Radish this question I asked to Steven Souza Jr. a couple of years ago. I asked him when he became a father, I said, does your outlook on the game change? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, does it matter as much? Right? And he goes, yeah, man, it's the same thing. Steven Souza Jr. comes up to me 2 weeks later in the clubhouse. He's like, come here. And I'm like, all right. So I go over there and he goes, bro, you were completely right. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, I went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts the other day and it didn't matter. Because when I went home, my baby didn't care. Now, of course it matters, but you understand what I'm saying, right? The context of that whole thing, where he was able to flush that game out and get right back at it the next time around because his priorities were in line. Darren Radish has scored 20 goals this year. He shoots the puck 100 miles an hour. He's probably going to make a life-changing contract or get a life-changing contract in the offseason, which Julian Breezeball told us a couple months ago. But do you honestly think that Darren Reddish, who is married, little ones, whose dad just passed away, do you think he feels right now that the reason I was put on this earth was to shoot a hockey puck? You see what I'm saying? That's my point. I just hope that Shane McClanahan can find that balance. Again, I know it might be a little bit, maybe a little bit too much to ask that at this time because I know how emotional he was because it was the first time he pitched in 2 years. I get that. But that's just the way I look at things. I look at things different than other people do. I look at things in a way because of my experience. Like I always felt that I would be better at this job as time went on because you can utilize the experiences that you've had in the past covering all these different teams. And that is another reason why I go to these games and I talk to these players because I feel like it gives you guys an insight into Tampa Bay sports and athletes in general that you're not going to get from people that are just watching at home just like you. If I'm sitting here regurgitating the same old bullshit about statistics, stats, and schedule, or statistics, schedule, and standings, those are the three, then I'm just like everybody else. And I've told you guys that's the cheat sheet. And I just told this to Nigel Kerwin, the video coach of the Lightning, the other day. I go, if you want to see if somebody knows really what the hell they're talking about, a certain topic, and don't do it with NFL because everybody knows NFL, right? But just listen. The little cheat sheet, right? If all they do is give you statistics, the schedule, and the standings, those three things, right? That's the key. That person doesn't have a take, doesn't have an opinion, nada on said topic of said sport or anything. So keep an ear out, keep an eye out for that when you are watching somebody or listening to a radio show. And I'm not just talking about WDA, I'm talking about anything in general. But if all they're talking about is statistics, schedule, and standings, very hollow argument. Not much of an opinion there. I want to try to relate things to real life. I want to relate things and make analogies so that you guys can understand better. And I look at Shane McClanahan as a guy, went to USF, right? Florida kid through and through. We could always cheer on a guy like him because like you just felt like he was one of us, right? And to hear that last night, again, I felt that was just kind of the both sides of Shane McClanahan. Pretty good early, struggled in the back end, loved the fire, didn't hate the lack of compartmentalization. I hope he finds that balance. Because when you do find that balance, I think great things can happen. And he's a hell of a competitor and a phenomenal pitcher. But with all that being said, you know that it's a process. He's not going to be able to kind of, kick it into gear and really go 100 miles an hour and balls to the wall because he's coming back from injury. They're not going to, they're going to pull him. If he had a no-hitter in the 7th inning and he threw 75, 80 pitches, they're taking him out. I just be ready for that. Be ready for him to be taken out in a situation where he's cruising because they have to be wary of his arm. Shout out to our guy Hammer. You're spot on, Jay. My wife and I were discussing last night that I hope he has an exit plan so he doesn't just throw until his arm is useless. Great point. Thank you, buddy. And then Bart Hill. What's up, Jay Bird? What's going on, Bart? Appreciate you, man. Yeah, a lot of these professional athletes, right? And I know that our buddy Matt Joyce, one of the things that he did with his post-playing career was focusing on the transition for these athletes. And it's something that we're going to talk to today during the Beckles and Recher podcast. going to be a really good discussion with Ian. We're going to talk about Antonio Brown and the recent comments from Levante David on Bussin' with the Boys, talking about he could kind of see Antonio Brown losing it a little bit. We're going to also discuss the Pride Night thing with, Jaden Ivey. I gave me my 2 cents yesterday. And then also what we were just talking about with Shane McClanahan and not putting all those eggs in that basket. And again, another reason why I say this is because I've gotten to know Shane a little bit over the years as well, right? It's one thing if you don't know the guy. I know the guy, and I'm not saying he's one of my best friends. I'm not going that far, but it's like I can say that we've met, a bunch of times, and I covered the sport and interviewed the guy, and we've talked, privately a couple times. Like, I'm not bragging about that, but I'm just talking about how like I want to see him, the person, do well. That to me is of the utmost importance. He'll be a baseball player, yes, but you look at some of these guys and their exit plans and what they do after their careers. I mean, we just saw Brett Phillips the other day at the Rowdies game. He looks so happy, there with his wife and child. And, you got to make sure that you understand that you can't play forever. You got to be able to move on. And again, Beckles and Recher podcast, we'll talk about that today with Ian, of not knowing what he was going to do after his playing career, what that transition was like, what that discussion was like with his then wife. All right, let's talk some Lightning hockey last night. I know I might be a little bit in the minority of what happened last night, and Erik is probably going to tell us as such at 1:30 today. And guys, while you're watching right here, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter/X, please kill that like button right now. Kill that like button, please. And whatever you guys can do as far as contributing via the super chat, $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, whatever you guys can do, every little bit helps. A big thank you to Honest Hammer Custom Builders and EverHealth for being our partners here on the program. But please kill that like button when you can. All right, so for the Lightning, I know I'm in kind of the minority of this, and again, I said the same thing for Erik Erlendsson, and he's probably going to say that at 1:30. I did not love how the Lightning played last night at all. It was better if you want to talk about the starts. I mean, anything's better than just having one shot in the first period like we saw the other night. But it's still not clean. It's still not crisp. I mean, there was a couple of points last night where they went offside. And it's just like, that's just a lack of focus. There was a puck that came across the blue line, and Nick Paul's like backing up along the blue line. And before he gets the puck, he goes offside. And it's just like, what is that? Like, that's just not, it's not an attention to detail, right? When you take the penalty from Jake Gensel, not moving your feet. You take the penalty by Charles Edouard-Destou, not moving your feet. And then you give up the 5-on-3. Like, you got to move your feet. What else is there? You're playing against a team that's on a 5-game winning streak. It's going to probably come down to one goal. It's the little things. Anthony Cirelli turns the puck over and then gives a very futile effort, getting back, and then does not mark Cole Caulfield, and he scores the easiest goal, popping the puck into the open net. So what are we talking about? The team played better. Like, sometimes that's all it comes down to. And don't give me the number of shots. Look at the number of shots. I don't give a shit about the shots. It is not shot accumulation. That is not the goal. It's to score the puck. Put the puck in the back of the net. And I love my guy, Evan Klosky, but he posts these things like the deserve to win-o-meter, and it had the Lightning as a 66%. Hell no. Could not disagree with that more. And John Cooper said the same thing last night. We may have deserved points, but we did not deserve to win that game last night. 100%. Too many penalties. Too many you're kind of throwing the puck at the net. One and done. Where were the guys crashing the net last night? A lot of the pucks were from the outside. I mean, there weren't many grade A chances. There weren't many 10 bell saves from Dobish last night. It is what it is. You got points in 8 straight. You didn't get them last night against the team that is in your division and you could see in the playoffs. And to be fair, here's the other thing. I was not impressed by Montreal last night at all. The other thing that really pisses me off about that game last night is that Montreal, especially in the second period, turned the puck over so many times along the left wing. It was just, I think it was like 4 or 5 clearing attempts in a row that they turned the puck over, and the Lightning just could not capitalize. So when I watched that game, that's, don't get it twisted. Am I overly concerned with the Lightning? No. Do I think that they're going to fix it? Yes. But don't sit there and tell me that last night was good. Don't sit there and tell me last night where they don't need room to improve, because they certainly do. But I'm sure as hell not impressed with Montreal. They turn the puck over so much. I'm like, you can't win like that either. I was more concerned about that. When you give me all the things to be concerned about last night for both teams, the thing that worried me the most, if I'm just a casual, right? If I'm on the outside, the thing that stood out to me the most was the amount of times that Montreal turned the puck over in their own zone. You cannot win like that. You do that in the playoffs, you'll get swept. You will get swept. You turn the puck over that many times in the playoffs in your own zone. And the Lightning just did not take advantage. If the Lightning were clicking on all cylinders, they win that game 6-1 last night. No doubt about it. Because Montreal did not, they were so careless with the puck. It was mind-boggling that the Lightning only scored 1 goal last night. One great thing for Montreal, that duo of Cole Caulfield and Juraj Slavkovsky, wow. Very impressed. I watched them during morning skate yesterday, and it was funny because Slavkovsky was the one that was setting up Caulfield for one-timer time and time again. And then you saw the goal last night where Slavkovsky was the guy who actually beat Vasilevsky. That duo right there with Nick Suzuki, one of the most underrated lines in the entire game. No doubt. I like that. And I got to be honest, Montreal's coming. They're not there yet. But when I watch them, I see something. It's not this year. They may win a playoff series, but they're on their way. And be ready. Just be ready. Montreal is on their way. I like Dovish. Don't get me wrong. I like him. He moves side to side really well. I don't think he had to play his best last night. He made some big saves when he had to. But I love Lane Hudson. That dude is going to be a Team USA defenseman in the next Olympics, or probably in the next whatever international competition. That dude skates. He reminds me of Torrey Krug, if you remember Torrey Krug for the Boston Bruins. But I think he's got even higher potential, and he's an American. So you talk about 2 left-handed defensemen that can skate with him and Quinn Hughes. Watch out. Noah Dobson, getting him in the trade with the Islanders worked out. They gave him the contract. I've always been a Mike Matheson fan on the blue line. And then you have the aforementioned Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky. They've got, I wasn't too impressed with who was the other kid from last night? Shit, I can't think of his name. But I saw him in the draft a couple of years ago. Wasn't too impressed with him. And then Philippe Danault and Brendan Gallagher, like their fourth line, those are 2 veterans that their best hockey is behind them. But they'll fill in those gaps. But Jeff Gorton in their front office and Marty St. Louis behind the bench, they're coming. They are coming. And if they make the right moves the next year or 2, they are going to be a force, not just in the Atlantic Division and the Eastern Conference, but the entire National Hockey League. But it's not this year. This is a year for the Tampa Bay Lightning to get back to the Stanley Cup final. It is. I'm not really overly concerned about anybody else in the division or in the conference. Really in the NHL. It's wide open, in my opinion. Colorado, they're just as great as they played in the beginning. They're dealing with injuries. Makar is going to be out for a couple games. He'll be back. We know that they're a wagon, but it's a tough division, just like the Atlantic is. The Lightning over these last games need to figure out their process once again. I thought the penalties kind of hurt last night from them having any type of flow. I want to see Braden Point back with Nikita Kucherov. Kucherov with Hagel and Cirelli, when they're flowing, when they're going good, I like it a lot. But I think at times Hagel and Cirelli get a little bit too fancy and they try to overpass too much when they play too long with Kucherov. They have to simplify their game. So that's why I hope going forward, and I didn't see the lines yet from practice today, and I don't know if everybody practiced today. And let's check it real quick here. Our guy Benny Pierce. Whoop. Back at it goes practice today. Hagel, the lone absence at practice. And okay, so we saw this at the end of the game yesterday. So Hagel day-to-day, doubtful for tomorrow. So is Sabrin. So could we see a guy get called up? Brandon Hagel, doubtful. Day-to-day, doubtful for tomorrow. So is Scott Sabrin. Interesting. So here were the lines from practice today. Moser and Radish, McDonough, Chernak, Destu, Lilleberg, Santini. We got that. Vazzy, JoJo, and Kyle Koenig. Point and Kucherov back together with Jake Gensel. Okay, I like that. Cirelli, and if Hagel can't go, it'll be Bjorkstrand, but they're playing obviously with Gonsalves. And then Perry, Paul, and whoever. Gergensons, Gordon, Holmberg. We know that. Now, you may not have a call up yet, tomorrow, and maybe you go 11-7 since Santini is healthy. You guys know my feelings on 11-7. I don't necessarily love it. Maybe out of necessity, maybe if the teams were built a little bit differently, but I just feel like the way that this team is right now, I think they're better 12-6. And the right 12 and the right 6. This is the D pairings for the playoffs. Knock on wood, everybody stays healthy. Moser and Radish, McDonough, Chernak, and Destu and Lilleberg. And I can't say enough nice things about Emil Lilleberg. I think he's been the best defenseman on this homestand. Think about that. Your third line defenseman that is playing on his offside has been your best defenseman during this homestand. And I don't think everybody else has played poorly. I just think Lilleberg's been that good. He's a physical presence, man. You can't get rid of that guy. You just cannot. We'll see what happens going forward. But I want to show you guys something, and I want to show some love to our guy, the one and only, our Carolina correspondent, Steve Garner. Check this out, guys. You want to talk about playoff probabilities. You're not getting this anywhere else but right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Check this out, and let's give some love to our Carolina correspondent, Steve Garner. Atlantic Division. Buffalo currently leads the division with 100 points. 7 games remaining. The magic number is currently 7 for the division. Tampa second with 98. 8 games remaining, and the magic number is currently 8 for the division. Montreal sits third with 96 points after their win last night, also with 8 remaining. However, they do not control their own destiny for the division or for the number 2 spot. Magic number to secure third currently sits at 7. Boston, wild card 1 slot with 94 points. 7 games remaining. They do not control their destiny for the top 3 spots. Ottawa can still make the playoffs, sitting at 86 points with 8 remaining. Currently, they would need to win all 8 for the wild card 2 spot, and they do not control their own destiny for any other playoff spot. The Red Wings, Leafs, and Panthers are all mathematically eliminated. Listen to our guy, man. How about our guy right there? Ready to roll. Now, we got to check, and I think it would be, you look at Toronto, it's going to be a tough putt for those teams like Ottawa and Detroit to be able to, or at least Ottawa to be able to make it in there. Metro Division, Carolina, the division leader at the moment, with 100 points, 8 games remaining. The magic number to clinch the division is 4. Pittsburgh, the second seed with 92 points. They do not control their own destiny for the division. Currently sit at a magic number of 5 to lock in the 2 seed. The Islanders currently sit third in the division with 89 points. With only 6 games to play, they do not control their own destiny for any playoff spot right now. Wow. Columbus sitting in the wild card 2, 88. They do have 7 yet to play, and with 7 wins, they can cement the 3 spot or one of the wild card spots also with those 7 wins. Flyers, Caps, and Devils can all somehow still make the playoffs but control none of their own destinies, yet in some, the Flyers can still win the division. That's nuts. Rangers mathematically eliminated. So here is what it would look like right now in the East. And again, a big thank you to Steve Garner, our Carolina correspondent. It would be Buffalo in the division and Boston, the Lightning in Montreal, Carolina and Columbus, and then Pittsburgh and the Islanders. And again, I am selfishly, um, yes, Betty, Steve Garner clearly has too much time on his hands. He really doesn't with his 9,000 kids that he has. But thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. I am selfishly hoping that in some form or fashion that we get an opportunity to see the Lightning and the Islanders in round one so I can go visit my family and go cover this team on the road. That would be amazing. Shout out to Jose Colon with the $10 super chat. Jose, thank you so much, man. I could not do this without the super chats, without our partners. Please, if you guys can contribute like Jose, 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, whatever you can do. Our guy Richie P donated $50 a couple weeks ago. That's the only way we're going to keep this going, guys. So please, please, please help out just like Jose. Thank you, Jose. You are the man. We're not going to have a single home game in the first round. Yeah, you never know, buddy. I am at a point with this Lightning team where I was a little concerned a couple weeks ago, like, you want to peak too early? Do you want to peak too early? No. This is where John Cooper makes his money. This is why you look at John Cooper and you say he could be the best coach in sports right now. Because I truly believe down the stretch, and again, you're going to hear this from other people, and do not let them influence you one way or the other. Do not get locked in on the results. Look at the process. Look at the process. Remember the game the other night where the two goals that went in off of the two goals that went in on JoJo were the one that the guy was sliding into the net, and then the other one, like, bing bong, ricocheted in. If goals like that go in, right, and let's say the Lightning get goalied, or they hit the post a couple of times and they lose a game 4-2 or something like that, understand the difference between a game like that and a game that they lose, 5-4, and they play terrible defensively and they just score a bunch of power play goals. Understand the difference. Robert, you are going to get banned. You are going to get banned for a couple of reasons. One, Mark Daniel is not better than Coop. Two, Robert, how do I know this and you don't? You didn't even spell his name right. Go look it up, Robert. Go look up how to properly spell Mark Daniel's last name. He's your coach. And then come back and apologize. Because I'm pretty sure it's Daignault. I am a stickler for spelling. And I remember there was a defenseman back in the day, J.J. Daniel, in the National Hockey League. And I thought it was the same spelling as Mark Daniel, the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Go ahead, Robert. Come on, Robert. We're waiting for you. Don't have everybody wait. I'm sorry, Jay, that I am this big, and I think there even may be an E in there too. Yeah, I think so, bud. Waiting for an apology. Waiting for an apology. I think it's D-A-I. Oh, Robert. Daigneault. Not Daignault. I don't know who the hell Daignault is. But yes, the Thunder are great. Don't get me wrong, but they ain't better than Coop. You're crazy, buddy. You're crazy. Back in action tomorrow night. Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Erik Erlendsson, and the crew. I got to be completely honest, like I always am. If the Lightning don't fix what they did last night, they will lose tomorrow. And again, it won't be about the result. It'll be about the process. And I think could it be for the best if they end up tripping up last night or tomorrow night and losing a game? Maybe not for the grand scheme of things, but I mean, maybe for the grand scheme of things, not for the standings. But if they need to take in the next 3 to 5 days a step or two back to take 4 or 5 steps forward, I'll take it. If they don't win the division, they don't win the division. It'll suck, but it is what it is. They're going to get in, but you got to play the game the right way. Shine benchmark has felt a lot like Raymond James lately with the opposing fans. It sucks. Yeah, I mean, this is something that's going to happen forever. I am not that person that, I think it's hypocritical for people to bitch and moan about this when the majority of the people that are bitching and moaning aren't from here anyway. Right? I don't know why everybody's surprised. I'm not from here. There's going to be people that are going to come visit here because it's so beautiful and visit, especially when there's other parts of the country you're just the weather sucks even right now on April 1st. That's what's going to happen. People are going to want to come here. So getting all bent out of shape about something that is never going to change, shut them up. Shut them up. Who cares? I don't care what they're doing. If they're cheering because their team's winning, I'm more pissed that my team's losing than they're cheering. I don't give a shit. I want my team to win. Montreal won that game last night. A lot of Montreal fans were cheering. Oh, well, whatever. It ain't salt in the wound for me. I want the Lightning to win. I'm not competing. I don't hate. That's the thing. And I know professional athletes say this. I hate to lose more than I love to win. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I love to win way more than I hate to lose. That's weird. That doesn't drive me. I am driven to win. I'm not driven not to lose. I want to win. I shoot for the stars. I prepare to win. I don't prepare not to lose. Snowbird fans, like CJ saying, I mean, whatever. They're just part of living down here. That's just the way it goes. Getting all bent out of shape, it's just a wasted emotion. I'm not doing that. All right. We heard yesterday, finally, that Tiger Woods is stepping away from golf to seek treatment. And he said it yesterday, I'm stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on my health, announcing the decision 4 days after he was arrested on suspicion of DUI and refusal to submit to a lawful test stemming from a rollover crash in Florida. I know and understand the seriousness of the situation I find myself in today. The 15-time major champion said in a statement posted to his social media accounts Tuesday night, I am stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on my health. This is necessary in order for me to prioritize my well-being and work toward lasting recovery. I'm committed to taking the time needed to return to a healthier, stronger, and more focused place, both personally and professionally. I appreciate your understanding and support and ask for privacy from my family, loved ones, and myself at this time. Stop asking. Stop asking. Stop asking me. Stop asking for privacy. You're Tiger Woods. You're one of the most popular people in the world. You're not going to get privacy. Again, going back to the conversation that we just had about Shane McClanahan and why were you put on this earth and your all these different things, like your purpose. I don't give a crap who you are. If you consistently put yourself behind the wheel, impaired by whether it's pills or alcohol, whatever, like you really don't give a shit about other people. Because when you're on the road, you are operating a vehicle that can literally kill somebody. This is not just about Tiger Woods. This is about everybody. There's so many people to blame in this. And I know a lot of people want to get on Christopher Mad Dog Russo when he goes on the mornings with ESPN, but he's completely right. Calling out people in Tiger Woods' inner circle. What are y'all doing? You are enabling him. Nobody's checking him. Nobody's telling him you need to do this, you need to do this. I was talking to Greg Wolf about this yesterday, talking about, he's going to play in the Masters and playing. I'm like, bro, I'm not even thinking about him playing golf again. I'm not even thinking about the golfer. I'm thinking about the human being. Bro, you live in my state. Get off the fucking road. Very fortunate that Tiger Woods did not hurt somebody other than himself getting behind the wheel again impaired. What are you thinking? God forbid anybody that's watching this show right now was in a car around Tiger Woods during that time and something happened. Think about that. It's reckless. It's irresponsible. It's crazy to me. We're more worried about like, oh, well, maybe he'll golf again. Well, I don't give a crap about that. I do not care if he ever golfs again. Get your ass some help. Ian said this on Monday before Tiger came out with this thing. This isn't noble. He's a professional athlete. Let's keep that where it is. Fantastic. Again, I've told you many times, one of the most surreal moments of my life was covering the Valspar when Tiger was there, and I went from 5 people around me to thousands. A moment I'll never forget with my buddy Justin Granite. I am grateful for the moments that he's given me as a sports fan, as a golf fan, reading the books, Bob Harrig, all the things that he's done, right? But he is a human being at the end of the day. He is fucking up. And there's not enough people around him, whether it's friends, whether it's family members, whether it's agents, whether it's anybody. There is not enough people around him telling him, you got to get your shit together. Because not only could you hurt yourself, but you could hurt people around you. Bro, you're a father. You have 2 kids. What kind of example are you setting? The example that you set by the decisions that you make driving impaired make a much more profound impact than whatever the hell you did on a fucking golf course. Irresponsible. And that shit drives me nuts. This whole situation is crazy to me. And we'll talk about it again with Ian at 3 o'clock. Tiger Woods is lucky who he is and the sport that he plays in, because he'd be looked at very differently if he was in a sport where it was football or basketball and his impact wasn't as profound. But because he is a minority in a primarily white sport and he's one of the all-time greats, he's getting a pass from a lot of people. I hope he gets help. Yeah, no shit. Me too. I love when people say things, it's we go back to the whole Jaden Ivey thing. If Jaden Ivey says these things about righteousness when it comes to Pride Night, and Jaden Ivey was Anthony Edwards, or he was Luka Doncic, or he was Devin Booker, would the Bulls have waived him? Not a chance. Not a chance. So let's always understand that that is part of the equation. And you see that in all aspects of life. It's not just sports. And whether you think it's fair or not, that is the name of the game. If you are a person at the top of the ladder, you are going to get a lot more rope than somebody at the bottom. You make one small mistake from a person at the bottom rung, you may be gone. Wipe your hands clean. You don't want to deal with it. If you're a person at the top, you're a go-getter. You bring in money. You're worth a lot. You're going to get a lot more leash to go do something and make mistakes. Understand that. The perspective is always going to be like that. It's something that I learned very young, and it's not something that and we talk about this whole thing with Tiger Woods, that's not something I'm going to lose my mind over, because it's never going to happen. You understand where you are in the pecking order of your profession or your life. Don't be surprised when things like this happen. Shout out to our guy, Rolly. Lady Evil, you are so right, Jay. So irresponsible. Great show as always. $10 super chat, Rolly. Thank you so much, man. I could not do this without you, without Jose Colon. Guys, the only way we're going to keep the J Retro podcast going is by donating via the super chat. Whatever you guys can do, every little bit helps. Thank you very much. Can't thank you guys enough. All right. Last night, U.S. men's national team on the pitch against Portugal. Is there cause for concern when it comes to our boys as we get closer to the U.S. men's national team, or excuse me, as we get closer to the World Cup in 2 months or so? And stick around. In about 9 minutes, I'm going to get into the Alex Golesh situation with USF and his appearance on Josh Pate. Is there a problem with our U.S. men's national team? I think there is a little bit of a problem. The fact that Mauricio Pochettino, who has been brought in to put this team in a position where they can compete for the first time probably in almost 30 years, there's no semblance of consistency, I think, with who he wants out there for a starting 11. I do like that there is a style of play, and I don't think enough people are talking about this. There are opportunities. I do like that they try to get the ball through the channels and up the pitch as fast as humanly possible, try to counterattack and put pressure on the defense. But let me start by saying this. Be very careful who you listen to when it comes to soccer in this country. Because I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're taking, cues from their counterparts across the pond in England and Europe, where you'll have a guy like Roy Keane and Graham Souness and some of these other guys that are just freaking miserable when it comes to soccer or football. They're pissed off all the time. Paul Scholes is another one. Jesus. And I love Keno and Scholes, two Man U guys, but they're just so freaking miserable. Be careful who you listen to. I do like Tim Howard and I do like Landon Donovan. I am not a huge fan of Alexi Lalas. I am certainly not a fan of Herculez Gomez. Everything is so freaking negative all the time. Every little thing. It's like, I watched some of the game last night. Then I watched the highlights again. And these guys acting like they did absolutely nothing right. I was like, dude, really? Nothing right? They had some chances. I think you look at Alex Freeman, who we had on Sticks and Stools a couple of weeks ago from Orlando City, now at Villarreal. His dad, Antonio Freeman, used to play for the Green Bay Packers. I thought he looked good. And if you're telling me he's going to be our right back and that you have Anthony Robson, Jedi on the left, I think that's a good start on our back four. Are we going to play a back four? We're going to play a back three. We need some consistency. We need some clarity before we get to the World Cup. Christian Pulisic does not look sharp, but he's got time to figure it out. I thought Patrick Adjumant came on with Flo Balogun. I think those two guys up top can cause some havoc. I think Weston McKennie is a guy that just seems to come up in big situations. He just missed a header at the beginning of the game yesterday. I think Matt Freese is, a pretty good goalie. I think he's the clear number one over Matt Turner, who didn't play that well against Belgium. But, you were leading against Belgium, who's a pretty damn good team. I thought you were going toe-to-toe for the first 35 minutes with Portugal, who obviously didn't have Cristiano Ronaldo, but in my mind, they have a guy, and I am biased because I'm a Manchester United fan, but I think Bruno Fernandes, like if Portugal wins the World Cup this year, Bruno might win the Ballon d'Or for the player of the year. And Bruno has been fantastic all year long, and I thought he was the best player on the pitch in the game against the United States. So you have to understand the competition. You're going against Belgium, you're going against Portugal. They had their moments, but it just shows that they need to make sure that they're playing a full 90. That's the only way that they're going to compete. They have to, it's almost like the Lightning. I'm not as concerned with the results. I want to see the process. And Steve, does U.S. men's soccer really lend itself to a traditional 3-4-4? That's what you meant instead of 3-3-4, or 3-3-4. Yeah, 3-3-4. Sorry, 3-3-4. No, because we really don't. In this country, we are pretty standard when it comes to four guys in the back. A left back, a right back, two center backs, three midfielders, and then three guys up front, a striker and two wingers. We don't necessarily, from what we've seen over the years, we don't play three guys in the back, three center backs, and then two wing backs that go all the way up and down. That's not traditionally what we do. And that's what you're going to get when it comes to experimentation from a guy like Mauricio Pochettino, who coached at PSG and coached at Tottenham and is Argentinian. You're going to get a little bit of a different look. Does that work? I don't think so. And especially because you have Alex Freeman and Serginho Dest as your possible right backs. I would go, my back four would be Anthony Robinson, Chris Richards, Tim Ream, and Alex Freeman. It wouldn't be Serginho Dest. And then I'd have Tyler Adams. I would have as my center, my holding midfielder. Then I'd have probably Tillman and McKinney in front. And then my three would probably be Weah, Pulisic, and Balogun. That's my guy right there. Those would be my starting 11. We'll see what happens going forward. We'll ask our guy Erik Erlendsson here in a little bit. We'll talk about that as well. Guys, make sure you're killing that like button, whether you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitter. Fire it up. Hit it. Hit that like button for me. And a big thank you to our friends at Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs. Licensed general contractor, CGC 153-1166, thehonesthammer.com, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. All your kitchen, bathroom renovations. If you have a fresh plot of land and you're looking for a new custom build, he can help you out. Pictures up on the website. You want to be able to trust a guy that is working on your home, not just your house, your home. And Hammer, my guy Russ, that's him. Every single day he's doing good work. I love the way that he communicates with his workers. Everybody is upfront and honest. They talk and treat each other with respect. I can't say enough good things about my guy Hammer, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. And then, of course, don't forget EverHealth. Our EverHealth injury report every single Thursday with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. He is the best. I love that freaking guy. Such a nice guy. Joins us on the program again tomorrow at 12:30. EverHealth.org, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. They do everything from the cradle to the grave. They want to be able to help you. They have a sliding scale for the uninsured. They are a group that takes all kinds of insurance. And if you were looking for the new kind of healthcare, it's them. And you can understand the rapport and you feel what kind of guy that Dr. Rodriguez is. He's just phenomenal, man. He's just a nice person. He's down to earth. He's a beast, man. He really is. And I can't say enough things about EverHealth and the EverHealth Institute. So again, go check them out. EverHealth.org, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Dignitary closed today. Is it? No, that's an April Fool's joke. You going to Ian's? Yes, we'll be there at 3:00 to record the Beckles and Recher podcast. I got practice. We got Tampa Catholic and Jesuit tonight from TC. 6:00 start. I got practice till 7:30. I'll head over there afterwards. Unbelievable game. We know two of the best teams in the state, two of the best teams in the nation. Yeah, that's going to be a really good one. Really is. Robert wants to vent about Alex Golesh. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to talk about Alex Golesh. If you guys want to talk about Alex Golesh, hop on right now before I give you my 2 cents on it. There is the link right there in the chat. StreamYard.com/P7SX6WAK64I. Eric Moreno, Robert Cochran. If you guys want to hop on board, feel free to come join us right now, and I'll let you guys get in your 2 cents before I talk about Alex Golesh and what he said on Josh Pate and the Pate State speaker series. Better hurry up. Oh, there's Robert. What's up, pal? What do you got for me?
Alex Golesh,
Speak.
you dirty, rotten, down low, no good, rotten rat, liar, snake in the grass. I hate him
Wow.
as much as I hate KD as a OKC
Wow.
fan. He
Unbelievable, this guy.
he is the worst kind of human being, and if it weren't for our guys that went to Auburn with him, I couldn't care less about Auburn. But I can't root against Byram and the fellas. I don't blame the players, but I blame him. I blame him 100%.
What don't you like about Alex Golesh, buddy?
He all of our suspicions about him not being completely motivated and not being completely focused for the Navy game, which in turn kept us out of the conference championship game, which probably in turn kept us out of the CFP. Like, and the fact that he said in his last press conference that he hadn't made a decision yet, but left under the cover of darkness.
Right.
Snake. Absolute snake.
You're not a fan, are you? Not a fan.
No.
All right, buddy.
But it's
Robert,
okay.
I appreciate
Yep.
Tell
It's
us how you
okay.
really
We
feel.
have. It's okay. We have Brian Hartline now. So
You're happy about Brian Hartline.
Oh yeah, he is the best looking coach in the nation.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, brother. Go Bulls.
Yes, sir. Go Bulls. Our guy Robert Cochran, our OKC correspondent, joining in on the program. All right. I just applied. All right. So you know what's crazy? I applied again for covering the Tampa Bay Rays, and I've been denied my credentials again. Wow. Unbelievable, man. Unfreaking believable. You guys want to see it? I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain here. The only team that does not. There you go. Look at that. Look at that. Full season credentials for the Rays. Recher podcast. Thank you for your interest in covering Tampa Bay Rays baseball. Unfortunately, we are not able to grant your credentials at this time. The following members have been denied. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I get credentialed for the Buccaneers. I get credentialed for USF. I get credentialed for the Lightning. I get credentialed for the Rowdies, but I don't get credentialed for the Rays. Really? It's ridiculous. I mean, honestly. I mean, I was credentialed there for 10 years. And now, nothing. Denied. And you guys wonder why people don't mess with the Rays. Right? And it's not just me, right? People understand, right? People don't get it. But this is the kind of shit that happens. You got somebody that's been covering sports for 12 years here. Okay. The hardest credential to get is the Buccaneers. It's the NFL. They could very easily say no. They never said no. The Lightning, credential from day one. The Rowdies, the USF. The only team that does not credential me are the Tampa Bay Rays. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. What do I do in a situation like this? I took the high road last year, right? After they kept me on the phone and kept me trading emails back 3-4 hours on the phone. 24 hours later, I don't get a credential after they said I would get one because they don't have enough seats in the press box, knowing that there's always way more full season credentials than seats in the press box. So there's a bullshit excuse, right? And then now this year, now we're back at Tropicana Field. A person that's been promoting your team and promoting the Rowdies, one of your entities, and now I get declined for a full season credential. The only team that denies me. Come on. You've got to be kidding me, bro. You got to be kidding me. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know what my next. I'm trying to support the Rays, right? You support other people that don't have nearly the type of following. And I saw you, Robert, tweet that. I just, shit's ridiculous, bro. It's ridiculous. It really is. Am I surprised? No. Am I frustrated? I wish I would say I wasn't, but I'm trying. I'm trying to continue to put on a brave face. I'm trying to support this fucking team. Okay? I'm trying here. Right? If they're mad because I'm the person that isn't afraid to freaking say what's on my mind about this team and that fans in this area deserve better, when this is a baseball city, I know because I've coached hundreds and thousands of kids in this freaking county. I just, again, there's no team here locally that does a worse job of promoting itself and trying to grow the brand worse than the Tampa Bay Rays. And you have somebody that actually gives a crap about you guys, and then you decline them an opportunity to cover your team. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't. And this is just the Rays. And I don't. Listen, I would rather them say, I'm curious. Now I got to know. I got to know what's the deal. All right. If you don't like it because of the things I say, because I don't bite my tongue when it comes to the Tampa Bay Rays, I didn't do that shit when they were the flagship. And I worked at WDAE. I did not care. I still said what I had to say. And I will continue to do as such. It's never personal. But now it seems like you're making it personal. Because now I can't do my job properly. And I was just talking to Ryan Pepio yesterday. Yeah, Ryan Pepio, a Rays right-hander that would gladly come on my show. Oh, yeah. You remember when Brady North, the hitting coach, would come on the show and we'll have Ozzie Timmons on the show? You're telling me I don't cover the Rays? You're telling me that people in that organization don't respect me? It's bullshit. I'm sick of it, man. I swear, you toe this company line. You try to be nice. You try to do all these things and go about it the right way, and then you get shit on, man. And I'm sick of it. I am sick of it. Watch me get an email in like 30 seconds. Like, oh, my bad, wrong guy. But you wonder why people, and I don't give a crap about ratings, but you wonder why people endear themselves more to the Tampa Bay Lightning than the Tampa Bay Rays. It's because of things like that. When I got let go by WDAE, there was one team that didn't call. One team that didn't say, you'll get back on your feet. Guess which one it was? Because within 30 minutes, I heard from the Lightning, I heard from the Bucks, I heard from the Rowdies, and I heard from USF. Guess who I didn't hear from? Maybe I shouldn't be surprised I didn't get credentialed then. Don't make an enemy out of me, Tampa Bay Rays. Do not make an enemy out of me. I want to support you. I want to do well. I want you to do well. But do not make an enemy of me. I'm telling you right now. You credential other people that talk shit and don't have any type of background whatsoever. You want to credential other people that don't have any type of baseball knowledge whatsoever. Get wrecked. Get wrecked. Serious. Gotta be kidding me, dude. Gotta be kidding me. All right. I want to talk about Alex Golesh, and I want to talk about USF. God, that shit got me way more pissed than I thought it would. So I watched this interview with Alex Golesh and Josh Pate on the Pate Speaker Series. And you know Josh Pate's been covering college football for a while. We've had him on the show here, had him on WDAE. In my mind, one of the best college football guys there is, right? He does his homework. I love the type of homework that he does. I love the type of insight he gives you. So when I saw that he was going to have Alex Golesh on a couple of weeks ago, I said, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And I was wondering if there was going to be any part of that discussion about his time at USF, leaving USF and going to Auburn, and then kind of waiting for that to come out. And then, of course, we know with the Valspar thing in the last couple of weeks and, not being here and being on location, March Madness, like it wasn't topic A. But now in the last couple of days, it's really kind of grown and there's a little bit of a firestorm here with USF fans. And you heard Robert Cochran call in a couple minutes ago and he was not happy. And he called Alex Golesh a snake in the grass and he called him all these names. I'm not going to go that far. And let's keep it 100% and transparent. Like Golesh was good to me during his time here. Didn't really appreciate that he chewed gum during our discussions, our interviews. I thought that was a little unprofessional, but it is what it is. I'm not going to lose my lunch over things like that. But listening to what Alex Golesh had to say, he said that he felt guilty for the last month at USF because all of the noise that had to do with USF was because of him. And when I listened to what Alex Golesh had to say, I had a lot of different emotions. And I'm going to start off with this. The fact that he used the word guilt instead of the word distraction, this may make you mad if you're a USF fan, but it told me that it was a decision that he knew was going to have repercussions. And he felt some type of way that he was the cause of that. And to feel guilt, you don't feel guilt if you don't care. And I truly believe he cared about his players, and I truly believe that he cared about the people around that program. Notice I said about around that program, right? So if you feel guilty, I respect that because it does show that you care. But at the end of the day, that was your decision. Your decision to go. Your decision to entertain those ideas. Your decision to think that the grass was greener in the plains. That's on you. I don't think he's a snake. I don't think he is this horrible person. I thought he made a business decision. A business decision that any one of us would have made. If you're going to go to a place that is going to be a higher profile job and is going to give you more money and is going to give your family a better quality of life, you're lying to yourself if you say that you're not taking that. You're lying to yourself. But with that being said, anything that happens because of that decision, ultimately, that responsibility lies at your feet. You cannot say, Alex Golesh, that your focus wasn't impaired or affected for that game against Navy or down the stretch because of the decision that you ultimately made. It may not have been your intention, but it happened. It happened. And you know as such because you have that guilt that I just alluded to. You felt guilty because that circus for the last month of your tenure around your future was because you didn't shoot it down. And again, that's well within your right. This is America, bro. Go get the bag. That's fine. But if those are the decisions that you're going to make, then there's going to be consequences. And one of those consequences is the focus is going to be affected from your team down the stretch. When we look like we were about to watch this team embark on a run that this program has never seen. We're not talking about number 2 in the nation. We're talking about a conference championship and a possible chance in the CFP. And that went out the window. Now, do we know 100% that his focus was lost because he was so worried about these other jobs? We're never going to know that. And if you feel like a jilted lover right now as a USF fan, you're going to say no doubt about it. If you're somebody that's maybe a little bit more pragmatic, you're going to say you should be able to do both. I lean probably more towards there. But here's the thing. You may have been focused, but what about your players? That's the thing that people, I think, are you can separate the two. Alex Golesh could have been focused. But what about his players? What about those 18 to 23-year-olds? What about those kids worried about where they're going to go next year? Am I good enough to be able to follow this coach to whatever school he's going to go to? What about all those kids that had Alex Golesh and his assistants come into their home and promise their parents that Golesh was going to take care of them? What about those guys? We don't know that either. So for all the talk about Golesh not being focused, what about the team? What about the team's lack of execution? You could feel guilty for that too. So again, I don't look at it as a personal thing with Alex Golesh. You got to make the best decision for you and your family. God bless you. Do what you got to do. But if that's the decision that you make, you have to understand that there are going to be just things that are left in your wake that are not great. And people are going to look at you and wonder, were you really dialed in? Were you really locked in? You know where I fall. But if you're one of those people that thinks that, I can't really say you're wrong. Look at the difference between the Brian Hodgson situation and the Alex Golesh situation, right? We didn't really hear about the Brian Hodgson situation until when? Very late. Very late into the season. Providence, Syracuse, that was the last couple of weeks, right? People are going to question till this day whether or not USF was focused in that game against Louisville where they missed all those shots and they were so uncharacteristic in that first half. And I understand what you're saying, Nancy. Hodgson was dialed in and his team dialed in for the conference tournament. What about the NCAA tournament? Did that look like a team that was locked in? Didn't look like that to me. Can you blame Coach Brian Hodgson? If you're going to give him the praise when they do well, he's also got to wear it when they don't. But you see the difference in the time frame. It was only a couple weeks. The noises weren't as loud. We know the difference between college basketball and college football. We were hearing about Coach Alex Golesh's future in week 2 of the college football season. Week 2. All year long. People were getting pissed. Remember how mad everybody was at WDA for bringing that up after the win over Florida? Remember that? The win over Boise State, the win over Florida. What happens against Miami? Alex Golesh, what's his future look like? I told you guys I wasn't going to discuss it until we got later on in the season. I wasn't going to speculate because I don't do that shit. I give you my thoughts and my opinions. But that noise was there all year long. And it got louder and louder and louder. And then when other jobs open up, well, what about him for this? What about Arkansas? What about Virginia Tech? What about Auburn? What about Penn State? Right? Like just all these different jobs. And Coach Alex Golesh, and he said as much to Josh Pate. And this is kind of and I'll wrap it up with this. He spoke a lot about focusing on the process and blocking out the outside noise. And keeping the main thing the main thing. Did he do that? If you did do that, why did you feel guilty for a month? You say you feel guilty because you caused the outside noise? Whether you wanted to do it or not, you didn't keep the main thing the main thing. Whether that affected you 1% or 90%, you just didn't. And it's something that Alex Golesh has to live with. And this is the thing that's going to piss off a lot of people. I don't think he's going to have any issues living with that decision. He's going to Auburn. He's in the SEC. He's got more money than he knows what to do with. He's got a rabid fan base. He's going to be playing Alabama every year in the Iron Bowl. It is what it is. Let's not forget, Coach Chris Mack just left College of Charleston. Brian Hodgson left Arkansas State. Amir Abdur-Rahim left Kennesaw State. It happens. Now, are there the right way to go about it and the wrong way to go about it? Yes. But at the end of the day, it's a business. And these guys have to do what's best for them and their family first. You would make that same decision for you and yours. Don't forget it. CJ, actually, I'll disagree that they look fine against Louisville. Baskets just weren't sinking. I don't think so, buddy. The team that was a prepared would have folded after going 20 down, but they fought back. Effort was there. Well, you're saying both things here. A team that wasn't prepared would have folded. I don't think a preparation has anything to do with not folding. I think what you said at the end, the effort. I think because those guys are tough, that's why they didn't fold. I don't think they look prepared. I don't think that they did a great job defending in transition. I don't think they moved the ball well. Yes, of course, they didn't shoot the ball well, but they didn't play great either, right? They got beat up on the inside. Like, it was not – they didn't look prepared to me. I think that coincided. I think it went hand in hand. And I know Coach Hodgson already had offers during the conference tournament, but it only takes one. It only takes one. Only takes one game. Hodgson left banners behind. Yeah, he did. But that's the thing. Left behind. They moved on. All right. Erik Erlendsson is going to join us here momentarily here on the program. Guys, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. We saw this last night. The Yankees are okay with the Rays in Tampa. I really thought that was an April Fool's joke, to be honest with you. It's a weird type of dynamic here when it comes to the Rays and the Yankees. The Yankees end up putting out a statement last night saying for 30 years, Hillsborough County's continued support of our infrastructure has enabled the Yankees to maintain their spring training operations and player development in Tampa, driving significant economic growth and tourism to the city. Over that same stretch, the county has accordingly invested significant support toward the Lightning and Buccaneers, furthering the profound transformation of our region, including the proliferation of major events that bring an influx to spending to our city. While the Yankees compete with the Tampa Bay Rays on the field, we are partners here in Tampa Bay. The construction of a new ballpark adjacent to George Steinbrenner Field is a defining opportunity to continue the county's growth and deliver a game day experience that Rays fans have more than earned. Our organization fully supports the thoughtful approach being used to fund the Rays ballpark project, as it aligns with decades of similar successful strategic investment decisions directed by the county, city, and sports authority. We also trust that our municipal partners will retain previously earmarked funds. This is the key. We also trust that our municipal partners will retain previously earmarked funds for Tampa's other professional sports venues and continue to consider their needs in the decades to come. Maintaining and enhancing all of our venues is a first-class fashion should remain a priority for ensuring the sustained ascent of Hillsborough County and the greater Tampa Bay region. Read between the lines. Read between the lines. Read between the lines. Read between the lines. What is going on here? The Rays, the city, the county, whoever, have assured the Yankees that whatever money that is going to be put forth for this stadium is not going to take away from the money for Steinbrenner Field, for any of their minor league parks, for I don't think they care about Lightning or Buccaneers. It's different. But where is that money coming from? Where is that money coming from? And the Yankees aren't stupid. They do a lot of their operations out of Tampa, here in Florida. And with all of their operations up in New York and knowing how much of a headache that is, as many of those operations that they can do here in Tampa, the better off they are. The better off they are. So don't look at this as this crazy thing of like, oh, I can't believe, why would this happen? And the Rays are now going to get a stadium. And I actually have, and I don't know if you guys saw the article written, and one of the guys that wrote it, my buddy Danny Alvarez. Hold on, guys. Because we saw today, Tampa cancel chairperson, Rays stadium plan not even put to pencil. There we go. I'm trying to find it here, guys. Bear with me. Actually, no, let's find Danny's page. All right. So this article that was written, Hillsborough shouldn't trade fire trucks for foul balls. Danny Alvarez and Michael Owen wrote this for the Tampa Bay Times, and Danny's an old friend of mine. Michael Owen is a guy that actually spoke at the Tony Saladino funeral as well. And they wrote this piece, and just listen to this. Negotiations are underway. No public vote has been taken, and yet Hillsborough County taxpayers face the consequences of a $1 billion stadium deal for the Tampa Bay Rays. Make no mistake, this deal will land squarely on taxpayers' shoulders. Meanwhile, the Rays are pitching a slick vision of hotels, restaurants, and offices surrounding their new stadium. The $1 billion plus bill for the stadium itself, that's on the rest of us. So listen to this. For years, residents have been told there isn't enough money for roads, stormwater systems, water and sewer upgrades, or public safety, like more fire stations, but there's plenty for a stadium. That contradiction is just not glaring. It is indefensible, especially at a time when residents are clamoring for help with affordability and tax relief. Call it 3 strikes. Strike 1. This plan diverts more than $1 billion from public priorities. The voter-approved community investment tax, tourist bed taxes, federal disaster recovery funds, and a community redevelopment area meant to revitalize neighborhoods are all on the table. Residents were promised these funds for essential infrastructure and services that could be redirected into a stadium. What is worse, when the community investment tax was being renewed and debated, our own county commission promised that none of those funds would be used for stadiums. To divert 1 penny to a new baseball stadium would be a betrayal of the trust and promise made to Hillsborough taxpayers. Strike 2. The full cost is being downplayed. The project would be financed through long-term bonds, leaving taxpayers responsible for hundreds of millions of interest. The so-called $1 billion contribution is near to $1.5 billion. Bonding for this project ties up the county's ability to bond future critical infrastructure projects. That's a multi-decade burden for residents. And strike 3, taxpayers shoulder the risk and lose the return. The proposal suggests that the public would own about 22 acres of the stadium property. This arrangement would let the team skip paying property taxes on land funded by taxpayers. Uncertainty surrounds the Hillsborough County College campus deal, including that the public will receive fair compensation for property valued at hundreds of millions. This is not a partnership. It is a one-sided arrangement. If the county can round up over $1 billion for a stadium, why is it insist there is not enough funding for core services. But when a professional sports franchise comes calling, suddenly money appears. Wow. This is wild, man. That's what I'm saying. You look at all these different things with the whole situation with the Tampa Bay Rays. And I just, at the end of the day, I don't quite understand why this situation is the way it is. It's not so cut and dry. It really isn't. And if this money, if they don't have the right money, I don't know if this is going to happen. And I don't want mean to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just the way it goes. All right, speaking of being the bearer of bad news, he's the bearer of great news. It's our good pal, the Icelandic warrior, Erik Erlendsson. What's going on, pal? How are you?
Boy, I was afraid you were setting me up there to be the bearer of bad news.
Nah. Give me some good news, buddy.
Oh man, I wish I had some. With Brandon Hagel now joining the group
What
of
happened?
players, I have no idea. Me and Ed were talking about it. Didn't see or notice anything that happened in the game last night. But with Coop to come out and say that he's doubtful for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't tell me that. Look, is it related to Nick Paul and Nikita Kucherov being sick? But we saw Hagel here today, so he's in the building. So I don't think it's a sickness. So, the fact that he called him and Scott Sabourin both doubtful for tomorrow's game the day before, which is something they don't usually do. It's a little worrisome. But it's also the time of year too where they're going to be cautious about situations, right? Because there's always something bigger at play this time of year, because they're gonna be in the playoffs, and that's the bigger time. So they will err on the side of caution with these things.
All right, what did you think about the game last night?
I thought they were fine for the most part. It felt like it almost kind of felt like they were expecting a track meet and got into a 5,000 meter jog. Right. Nobody wanted to kind of sprint because neither team wanted to open themselves up. It was that sort of, April sort of game where both teams were being somewhat cautious with their approach, not wanting to feed a transition game because, I don't think the Lightning turned the puck over a lot last night, and you're going to turn the puck over in games. But you could see once they did, Montreal was waiting for it. And they're so fast in transition. They were waiting for those opportunities to pounce. They took advantage of the one that ended up being the difference in the game. But other than that, I thought Golesh was really good. I thought both goalies were really good last night. To me, it was borderline goalie steal, right? 37 shots, I think the Lightning ended up with. And, their expected goals rates was above 4. That would classify it in terms of looking at it as a goalie steal game for him. But not the cleanest game for sure. Their start was better. I thought defensively there were times where they were a little out of sorts, especially on what ended up being the game-winning goal. I mean, it's been a common problem where, 3 guys are watching the puck carrier and not taking a peek behind them to see where the real danger guy is, right? And that's what happened on that goal. So that is something that they definitely have to be more aware of, as we kind of look towards, the middle of the month when the playoffs are going to start. Those could be the difference between winning a series and losing a series. So, but otherwise, for like, it might have been, it wasn't their best game during this homestand, but it might have been their best game in terms of the way they started and the way they finished. Right? They gave themselves plenty of chances to win that game. Didn't get pucks to go in. Nikita Kucherov had a puck bounce over his stick with a wide open net that, if that hits his blade, it's in the net, right? And then the game is a little bit different. So it's just to me, it was just one of those games where they did enough to win. They just didn't.
So what do you think the lineup be like tomorrow if Hagel and Sabourin, do they call somebody up or do they go at 11 and 7 since Santini's there?
Well, my guess is they're going to go 11 and 7. We saw them do this when Nick Paul and Nikita Kucherov were both out with the sickness on Saturday. That would be my guess. I've kind of asked around. Nobody thinks a call-up is coming, but doesn't rule it out. But my guess is they'll go 11 and 7 and just kind of go from there because they've done it before.
How good is a guy like Emil Lilleberg looked? Would you agree that or I'll ask you, who do you think the best defenseman on this homestand has been?
Well, it feels like you set me up to say Emil Lilleberg.
I did.
I mean, he's been good. He's been really good. He's been involved offensively. He's been joining the rush. He's been jumping up on the play. He's been physical.
Yeah.
Right? He's had a couple of pretty good hits. He's been in the middle of some of these scrums, and last night. First of all, like it's always easy to complain about the officiating. When you take a guy's helmet off, it's supposed to be an automatic penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Emil Lilleberg had his cage and his helmet ripped off. Anyway, I digress. I think really honestly, especially since he's moved to the right side back in late November, early December before he got hurt, I thought he was playing fantastic hockey.
Right.
And it's been tough for him obviously to get back in. He missed all that time with the ankle injury. Came back, and then in practice he gets hit with a puck in the face. That's why he's wearing the cage. But I think he's, this is like last year people wanted to send this guy, off to Siberia for the way he was playing. And you just have to be patient with players, right? And especially defensemen. It takes the old adage, John Tortorella used to say it all the time. 300 game mark is about the time defensemen really start to figure out how to play the game at this level, right? And last year was his first full year in the NHL. So you could see signs of him coming. Plenty of talks with Brian Engblom at the start of the season. He even said, Emil Lilleberg's going to have a good year. You watch. And he has, outside of the injuries. So he's evolved, he's grown, and it's good to see. It just, it does create a good problem to have is, if Victor Hedman comes back, what do you do? Declan Carlisle's, if he comes back, Max Crozier, it sounds like, he's at least on the road to recovery. I mean, now you're into the situation where you almost have, I don't want to say too many defensemen, but you've got a lot of good quality defensemen and not enough ice time to go around. But Emil Lilleberg probably has seen that, understands, the depth that this team now has in defense, and has upped his game and stepped his game up. And certainly I think he's been really good on this homestand.
Who, out of all the guys that are injured, and I'm not talking about Hagel or Sabrin, what guys could we see back in the next couple of weeks as far as Dominic James, Crozier, and Carlisle go?
It won't be James. He had the surgery. His expected timeline was May. So it would have to take a deep run for him to even be under consideration to come back. We haven't seen Crozier skate, but I've seen the no contact jersey hanging in his stall once or twice. So that tells you he's kind of like close to maybe getting back on the ice with the team. I believe all of those guys in some capacity have at least been on the ice on their own. And Carlisle, if his was what we think it is, was some sort of an ankle sprain, those are usually 4 weeks, and what are we, two weeks since he got injured. So you're probably looking, I don't know if we'll see him before the end of the regular season. You might see Crozier, or at least Crozier might be available before the end of the regular season, but you definitely will not see Dominic James, and I'm not sure you'll see Declan Carlisle.
All right, what's the latest on Victor Hedman? Anything we know? Anything new?
Nothing new, man. Again, not anything other than like you hear personal reasons. Could it be, a health issue, but an injury issue, right? Could it be something like that? I don't think it's anything that's necessarily family related. I think that this is Victor Hedman related. But again, nothing new, no status update, no anticipated time of return. I'm not even sure, guys, anybody's seen him around the building of late. So, this is the case where, no news is good news. No news is we're not sure what kind of news it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then obviously it was weird seeing, and I saw his brother, you saw his brother there at the game on Sunday, which I thought was kind of weird that his brother and his family were there and they were talking to Stammer on the way out. So, I mean, he's still a part of the family. You know what I mean? Like to have his brother there is pretty cool. And have Stammer there. I mean, it felt different, didn't it? Like, it was such a unique experience the first time back. And it felt different this time. It wasn't as emotional, was it?
No, because you close a door, right?
Yeah.
It's or you turn a page. It's once, and I think you talk to a lot of players, especially those who are franchise icons like Stammer is. The first time they come back, it is emotional, but the second time you come back, you've been through it. There's a little bit more distance between what happened and where you're at now. He's fully ingrained in Nashville. He's in a playoff chase with the Predators. He's trying to help get that team into the postseason. So yeah, there was definitely a lot more things, and this one was late in the year and not early in the year like it was last year. So yeah, it's always a much different feel, I think, for these guys the second time they come through and they come back. It's always good for them to see familiar faces and people that he interacted with on basically a daily basis for almost 15 years. So yeah, it's always going to be different that second time back, and that's, I don't say closure, but it's kind of along that same sort of track, right? To turn the page, closing one chapter, opening another. That's kind of what all that stuff is. But it's good to see him. Good to see him having success, and certainly the family's doing well in Nashville. They're thriving, and I think we're all happy for Stammer there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What are we looking for the rest of this week, Erik? When you're looking at these last two games in the homestand, what's your focus?
Getting points. Like it you have to get points here, right? You're playing basically up until you face Detroit in the next to last game of the season, and they're all games against teams either in a playoff position or fighting for a playoff position. So that's why last night was a little disappointing. That was an opportunity to distance yourself and kind of push down Montreal a little bit. Instead, you let them climb 2 points closer. Now it's just a 2-point gap. The Bruins won again. They're kind of right there in terms of where you might finish. I mean, I think it's important for what this team has gone through this year with the great run that they had leading up to the Olympic break and the position they put themselves in. I think it's important for them to hold on to one of the top 3 spots in the division. You don't want to drop into a wild card spot. The division's still there for the taking too. Like you still have a game in hand on Buffalo. You still have a head-to-head matchup against Buffalo, on Monday. But to me, it's getting points. Pittsburgh's kind of on a roll, right? They came back and blitzkrieged the Islanders the other night after falling down 3-0. They score 7 straight goals and beat the Islanders 8-3. They put up 6 last night. So they're coming in here feeling pretty hot. And to me, it's you want the points, but you would also like to get them in a manner in which the process is doing well, right? And we've seen certainly in a lot of spurts so far in this homestand. That's why last night was kind of weird, right? Because it felt like from start to finish, the process was pretty good for the most part. They gave up a couple of great A's in the third period. Vazzy had to make some really good saves on to continue to give them a chance. But last night felt like from start to finish, the best process game on this homestand. And they still had a strong third period. Like they were a dominant team in the third period outside of those chances they gave up. But you need points here. You need to get points. You need to keep munching points, close in on that playoff spot, and then let things fall where they may. But, as well as they've been on the road this year and they've been a pretty good home team in the second half of the year, I don't think at the end of the day, they don't care where they finish. You just get them in and give them a chance. But I think it's important to finish in one of those top 3 Atlantic Division spots.
Who do you think starts game 1 of the playoffs, Scott Sabrin or Oliver Bjorkstrand?
I think it would depend on who it is.
Yeah.
If you feel that at least the start of the series could be against a heavy opponent, Sabrin's probably your guy.
Yeah.
Right. If it's a team that's maybe not as heavy, then Bjorkstrand is the guy because, he's had a struggle this year for sure. Been a healthy scratch now twice in the past week. But he has the ability to be a difference maker in a postseason series.
Yeah, we said that last week.
Yeah, he's been a clutch guy his entire career when it comes to the playoffs. He has that shot, right, that he can unleash. We haven't seen it certainly like we expected to since he was acquired last year. But he has scored, 8 power play goals this year. So he's been effective somewhat. I mean, there's still issues in terms of the way that he still doesn't seem like he can handle a good hard pass coming across the ice. But he has produced on the power play, and that could be a difference in a series, right? And he's a guy that can produce that. So to me, it's going to depend more on the opponent than it is the player. But I think Bjorkstrand is a guy who could end up making a difference in a playoff series offensively, whereas Sabourin's going to make the difference potentially physically.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, before I let you go, I want to talk some soccer too. Did you get a chance to watch any of the game last night or any of the highlights?
I did not catch any of last night's game. I had a chance to watch a little bit of the game on Saturday because we had it on here in the workroom after the 1:00 game against Ottawa. Giving up 5 to Belgium, and then whether was it 2-0 last night?
2-0 last night.
2-0 finish last night. Both top ranked teams. You certainly wanted this test this close to the start of the World Cup, but it is a little concerning. Like, they haven't settled. I mean, who's going to be the starter? Is it going to be Turner? Is it going to be Freeze? Like, who's going to be the guy? I think it is too. I think it's going to end up being him as a starter. But like, the fact that you don't necessarily have that settled, you've only got 2 more games, right? You get 2 more warm-up games before the World Cup kicks off. And, fortunately for them, they're in a group that you feel they should get out of, right? They should really, honestly, they really shouldn't have a problem getting out of the group that they're in. So that's sort of I don't want to say a saving grace, but with the way the draw went, I don't think you could have asked for anything better, for who they have in their group. So you feel that they're not only should they get out of the group, they really should win the group. We've said it. This is the most talented pool of soccer players that the U.S. has ever had at one point in time to choose from. There will be players who don't make the roster. You're like, man, I can't believe he didn't make it, right? Like, you're going to have guys that have played well in Europe and performed well in European leagues that aren't going to make this team. And that's not going to be in years past. We always talk about the MLS bias, right? Well, we got to get MLS players on this team. We got to grow the MLS. No. You've got a very large number of American players performing for their European clubs, and not just in league play and Champions League play, right? Like, playing well. So you're going to have a lot to choose from. There's no excuses not to get out of your group, not to win your group, to be honest with you, and kind of give yourself a chance. Once you get into the knockout rounds, though, man, I don't have a lot of confidence in this team once you get to knockout.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. What do we have up on lightninginsider.com right now, partner?
Hey, game last night, again, talking about what went well and a couple of reasons why it didn't go their way last night. That's up there. The signing of Noah Steen.
Yeah, what's that all about?
So he's a 7th-round draft pick from 24, Norwegian-born player, performed pretty well in the World Championships last year for Norway as a 20-year-old. Has been a big part of the Norwegian program for a couple of years now. Actually scored a goal in the World Championships last year, scored the only goal in their game against Hungary that avoided potential relegation out of the top World Championship class, so they don't have to qualify. They're already qualified for this year's World Championships. I assume he'll probably get an opportunity to play there again. 6'1", 190, 185, 190-pound forward. Has some skill, has some snarl to his game. I have a buddy who lives in Norway, who's Norwegian, who's talked about Noah Steen quite a bit to me, trying to kind of talk him up a little bit. So, that he's going to finish the season in Syracuse on an amateur tryout contract. Nice. and kind of get a taste of North America. He's been to the development camps the last couple of years. So he's been around, and they'll get him next year. Sign a 2-year entry-level contract and give an opportunity to kind of shine and see. I know it's not the European prospect that everybody wants. It's Benjamin Ratuinen, who had a historic type of year, for a 20-year-old. And I think he's in the Finnish league or the Swedish league. I forget. Finnish league.
No, you're right.
Finnish league, yeah. So that's the guy I think everybody kind of has their eye on, but I want to say that Ratainen is actually under contract, so the Light would have to buy out that contract if they want to try and bring him over for next year.
You think there's a chance for that happening or
no? It'd be tough because he is under contract with his club team over there, but I think they'd want to get him over here sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Right. Because he's 20 or 21 years old now.
Yeah.
He was an overager when they drafted him last year. It's, again, the Lightning scouting staff finding these sort of overage players who are making impacts, right? Gage Gonsalves was a guy that was passed over his first year in the draft. And, you know, Andre Palat fell into that sort of category as well. So, I think they would like to try and get that done. I haven't tracked how he's doing with his club in the playoffs over the year. Obviously, Noah Steen's season is done. That's why they were able to get this and bring him over. But I think they'd like to try and do it. I just don't know if this coming season is going to be when they get that done.
No doubt about it. Erik _Erlendsson on Twitter /XK, not a C, 2 S's after the D. Use that promo code JNZ, get you a discount on lightninginsider.com. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow at the arena. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Be well.
Thanks, man. You too. The great Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Yeah, man. Unbelievable. I can't wait for some of those young prospects to come on over. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. I got to get going to the Dignitary Cafe and see my guy, Ian Beckles. Big thank you to Erik Erlendsson for joining us on the program. Coach Kirsty Curry joins us tomorrow, USF women's basketball. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, Ed and Cena too. Epic show today. Sorry about the Rays BS. We'll work on it today. We'll see. Hopefully they figure something out. Big thank you to Jose Colon and Rolly. Couldn't do this without you guys. That's why, man, like, we got to, continue to roll here on the program. Follow me on all social media platforms at Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Kill that like button, like and subscribe on YouTube as well. All right. Beckles and Recher in about an hour. Back at the arena tomorrow, right here on the Recher Podcast. I'm gone. Peace out.